In this episode we're going to set up the still capture functionality of the Android camera2 video app. Welcome to Mobile Application Tutorials. Okay, so we've got video working and capturing. Now we need to set up the camera because it's also got a camera capture part. This is going to be a few episodes for this. This is just going to, first part's just going to set up the capture part, and we'll get to the extent of where we can actually lock the focus, and then we'll capture the images in the following tutorial, and then we'll do it so when we're recording we can also capture images during the recording, and that will be another episode that will follow the one after this. Okay, so we'll make a start now. Okay, so first thing I need to do is I need to set up some members here, one for an image reader and one for the actual represent the size of the still capture image that we're going to save. So we'll go into Android Studio, back on Android Studio 2.0. So we've got M video size here. Actually, I'll just copy that, paste it down here. And I'll make that M image size. And underneath that I'll set up the image reader. And I'm also going to set up a onListener for that image reader. Basically, once an image has been captured to there, we'll set up a listener to notify us of that. And it's called onAvailableListener. And I think I'll call this M on image. Such, and we'll create a new for that. And I'll just complete that. Okay, so that's now been set up here. Basically, as I mentioned, the image reader onAvailableListener will notify us when we've actually captured an image and we want to do with that with what we want. So we'll probably just save that to the device itself. Okay, now so we'll set up those members, and that happens in the setup camera method. So we'll do the image size first, and it's going to be done very similar to these methods here. And this is going to be an image format that we're going to set up here for JPEG. So we should get the right dimensions here for our image size. Now we can set up our image reader. And we do it by calling a new instance. And we can now pass the heights of the image size for our image reader. So it'll be width and height. This will be the format. And finally, I'm just going to save one as max images here. Okay, now we've set up the image reader. We'll set up the listener for that as well when an image is captured. So we call image reader again. Now we'll just call the set on image available listener. And we've now passed the onAvailable listener that we created before, and we'll put that into the background handler. Now we're going to have to create a camera capture session for our preview session. So we'll create a member for that. Let's try and find a good place to create that. I'll put it above the capture request there. And this is going to be a camera capture session, and I'll call this M preview capture session. We're also going to have to create a listener for that as well. And it's going to be the capture callback. Okay, so notify us we're going to use this callback here for capturing our images while we're in preview mode, for just taking photos while we're just in preview mode. So I'll call this M preview capture callback. So the main one I'm interested in here, you'll probably want to set up another one in case capture's failed, but I'm just for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm interested in capture completed here. I'll just complete that. Okay, so we've now set this up. I'm going to do a bit more work in this capture callback. So there's two things that will call this capture callback. One is just normal preview mode, which we don't want to do anything. The other one is when we actually press the camera capture button to capture a still image, and that's the part we're interested in. So first thing I want to do is to create some states just to differentiate between a preview and if we're actually trying to capture a still image. So I'll create those state members now. I'll just put them just below here. And it'll be an int, and I think I'll call the first one state preview. That's 0. And I'll call the next one wait lock for the preview for the focus. And I like that 1. And I'll create another method just to hold one of those states, to hold those states. I'll call it capture state. And we'll set it up initially with state preview. Let's just put the int in first. State preview. Okay, now I've got those states set up. I'll implement those states in our camera capture session, capture callback. Let's see if I can find that first. There it is there. So I'm going to create another method in here just called process. And it's going to take a capture result. Call this capture result. And we're going to sort out the differences in states here. So we'll set up a switch here. And here's where we're going to check our capture state. So that first case is going to be, we'll just put it for the preview state. And I'll just put a comment here, do nothing. And we'll set the next state here for weight lock. We'll do something, we'll do that a bit later on. Okay. And inside the on capture here, we'll call the preview process. And we're going to pass in total capture result here, which is called result. Okay, now I've set up my preview capture session here. I'm going to just need to initialize, set that up in the preview capture session. That's in the start preview method. And while I'm also here, important thing to note is because our preview is now going to support capturing still images, we're going to need to add that to when we create the capture session. So just in here, we'll add that surface plane. So it's going to be the ImageReader surface plane, and we can just get surface for that. So that's an important step, you need to add that. And we'll set up a capture request session here as well. So it's called preview capture session. Get that from the session. And call it here as well. Oh. Okay, so that's the preview capture session now set up inside the start preview method. Now we're going to create the lockFocus method. So when you actually click on the camera capture button, we'll call lockFocus. And so basically we're just going to request the camera to try and get a focus lock or a lock on whatever we're pointing at. So we'll set up that method now. I'll call it lockFocus. So the first thing we need to do is call up the capture builder. We'll call set there. And it's going to be a capture request control autofocus trigger. Call capture request again with autofocus start. So basically we're setting up autofocus to do a lock. And so that's the request we're setting up here. Now from the preview capture session we set up before, we can call it a single capture on that. So there's a single, and we're just going to call capture, single capture for image. And in here we're going to pass in our capture request. And the callback listener for the capture session, which is M preview capture callback. And we'll put that into the background thread, the background handler. Okay, we are going to need to put a try catch around that. And also to note, important thing is we need to now set the state for this, the capture state. It's now going to be state weight lock once we press that. Okay, now that we've set that state for weight lock, let's go back into the capture callback. And now let's process what's happened. Once we put in the request to get the autofocus lock, let's process that inside here now. And we'll have to set up an integer here, and I'll call it autofocus state. And we can get that from the capture result. We'll call get on that, capture result, and this will give us the autofocus state. Now let's check to see what that autofocus state is. going to be a result. So we'll check to see if the focus is locked first. And for devices that don't support this autofocus lock, we'll just call this. It supports older devices. So it's autofocus not locked, but it's to support the older devices here. And so if we get to this state and we do get a lock, we'll go into this if statement, and from there we can actually save the image. But at this stage, because this tutorial is going on quite long, I'll just put printer toast here. I have to get application context, and I'll just call it autofocus locked. And complete that toast as such. Also, once we get into the state lock here, we're basically capturing an image here. We can go back to the state preview. If we don't do that, we'll keep on capturing images. So we only want to capture the one image. So once we get into this the first time, we'll set the state back to preview. And we'll keep that there. Right, we will need to call lockFocus, and from that that gets called from when we press the button. So we'll need to just create a member just to get to the button image view for the camera capture, and then put a listener on that, and then we'll call lockFocus, then we'll test that to see if it works. So let's go on to onCreate. Oh. Here we are. So if we look here, we've got the record image button. I know in our image view, in our image layout, in a layout that we've got another view as well, but let me copy and paste this. So I'll create another button there. And we'll call this still image capture button. Let's go back to that. Okay, now let's set up our member we just created. Find view by ID. And this will be camera image 2 here, just like we did for the record image button. Now let's attach a click listener to that. There it is here, and from here we can now call our lockFocus. Okay, so let's now try running that and see what happens. Application's now started. Let's record that so you can see the toast. And as usual, take a photograph of this. And you can see the autofocus locks come up. So we're happy with the progress we've made with this particular episode. Okay, so that concludes this tutorial. If you have watched the Android camera2 camera application, camera2 API camera application tutorial series, you would have seen this done before as well. But we do need to add a camera capture for this application, wouldn't look good without it. So we just focused on setting up our capture sessions and our image readers just so we could get to the state where we can actually focus and be in a focus lock for where we can actually call capture on image. So in the next tutorial we'll complete the actual still capture image for this application. So if you want to get notified of the following tutorial or any of the other tutorials that I'm currently working on, don't forget to click on the subscribe button down below me. And surrounding me is all my social media accounts, so just to keep up to date with what I'm working on, any news, announcements, bug fixes, patches, whatever, you can click on any of those social media accounts if you're on a PC. And directly above me is my website as well, which is probably the best place to watch these videos. Not only do you get the video, you get examples of the source code changes, as well as information of where you can get the code from GitHub as well. Anyway, that's all for this one. Bye for now.